The roar of the big straight six engine is the best sound in the world to wake up to, and I should know. I'm bonkers about cars, but this isn't any old car. This is a 1971 classic. We'll meet Russell there. He left at the crack of dawn. He wants to get everything spick and span, ready for action. Hold on tight, we're in for a great day. Heading for Popham, 30 miles. I'll take the scenic route. This is definitely the road to heaven. Could be an old Roman road. Their chariots never went as fast as this. She's not built for modern motorways. She's a country lane lover. Sit back, folks, you're in for the ride of your life. Get her on a straight, and she goes like a rocket. This is the scenic road I was shouting about earlier. It's the old Basingstoke Road leading onto London Road and then Popham. As you can hear, Blue Rocket has 150 bhp with a fuel injection engine. In the 70s, Triumph made 92,000 TR6s, but only 8,000 of them were for the UK market. Most were exported to America as left-hand drive cars. My car was originally saffron yellow in colour, which was a very muddy yellow, but in 1993 she had a full body rebuild and the colour was changed to Tahiti blue. We've landed Popham at last. 52 minutes and 31 seconds. Whatever the weather, I have the top down. If you thought we'd just flown here, think again. Now we're really going to fly. This is my second home. Now let's go and find Russ, probably in the hangar.
And what attracted you to this plane? Why did you want this particular plane? Yeah.
It got a lot of character. I like ex-military things, and this is the fifth plane we've had. The third ex-military one. There's something about a plane that has had a sort of genuine use, really, to me anyway. I mean, it's very functional. So you've got there's no soundproofing, no interior trim. It's very much down. Like you've got all these stencils all over the plane. Of that brake window to get the crowbar. It's very much a functional thing, and I do quite like that, really. But plus you can inspect it. Bear in mind, this one, 76 years old or 78 years old. You can inspect everything because nothing's covered up, so there aren't any trim on any of the control cables and the push rods, so you can do a good inspection without taking things apart, which obviously is handy in the battlefield. Not that that matters to me in the battlefield, but it does mean you can inspect things without taking loads of the plane apart.
Were there many of these lost during the war? Do you know?
Well, Auster made about 3,000 planes. They're actually quite a big manufacturer. I know people haven't really heard of them very much. They made an awful lot. So all made in their hundreds. Most were probably lost in landing accidents, because they are difficult to land. That's the one thing about them. But they wouldn't necessarily result in fatality. There's good record keeping. There aren't many records of them being brought down by the Luftwaffe. They were a difficult plane to hit, even from the air, really. You got something like Messerschmitt 109 flying at, say, 250 miles an hour. It's hard to aim, although obviously it's got a fantastic advantage over this. This would better turn so quickly that it'd be hard to, the fighters would have a hard job getting them down. But also the general, most of the flying was done at very, very low levels, so you'd be doing as low as you possibly can, which would be below treetop height a lot of the time. So you're talking about very low, and you sort of bring it up so you get a good feel of what's going on, get it back down again, to get out of harm's way. So hitting things down that are very low, or shooting things down that are very low, is no easy task, really. So They obviously did lose them, but they weren't as vulnerable, I think, as some people might imagine. And apparently they were quite feared by the enemy. In that case, more feared than me, I suppose, because if you could see those above you, then you knew really, in a few minutes' time, all the artillery is going to be raining right on your spot. So, although this wouldn't actually deliver the firepower, they knew then that what was going to come next. So, apparently that's what they were really a bit concerned about.
The scouting party, isn't it?
It is really. Once you know, there's also quite a lot of rumours that they wouldn't shoot them down because if you're on the ground, although you can see them, it gives you away your position of where you are. So if you don't manage to get the plane down there and then, you can obviously radio exactly the right position where there's some people, and in come the mortars right on that exact spot.
So what's it like to fly?
To fly, well, when people ask that, it generally means in comparison to something else, for example, a Club Cessna or whatever, it's a lot more difficult to land. That's the probably Achilles heel on these things. It's drafty, they're very noisy, and the engine's a 6.1 litre engine, and obviously they're completely unsilenced. The exhaust is just about 6 inches below your feet, and so it is very noisy, and being just fabric, it doesn't reduce the noise whatsoever, and there's no soundproofing, so you really are very, very close to that exhaust. And the props are about 7 foot in diameter, so that creates a lot of noise. The doors don't really fit properly, so you do get the noise and the drafts. The controls are heavy, much heavier. So if anyone was used to a Cessna, where it's just a very delicate thing, other than that, I like them, and people will either love them or hate them. And I like the ruggedness and the fact that it is heavy, it is difficult. But once you're actually flying, not really much difference in this than anything else. Once you're actually in the cruise, it's quite nice and stable. They're heavy planes. You'd find that you'd struggle with these.
Sometimes it feels like she's not actually moving, and Russ will say to me, well, actually we're doing about 100 miles an hour, but to me it feels like we just literally stopped. Oh yeah, I wouldn't have any other plane. No, I love it. I think it's got character. It's very Russ. I have an old car, so it's probably very us, this plane. Yes. If you asked Russ what his hobbies are, flying would be one of them. If you ask me what my hobbies are, probably driving would be one of mine. I'd rather probably be on 4 wheels than up in the air, yes. Ideally I would like 7 vehicles so I could have one for each day of the week. It's a beautiful plane, and we got last year at the fly-in, we came second in the plane, highly recommended for the age and for the airplane. And we came second so we've got a framed certificate and so forth, and so Russ went up to get the presentation.
Well, the answer is, we were looking for a plane for the last few years, and I learned to fly when I was 19, and I did a couple of restorations, 2 Piper Cub complete restorations, and then other things got in the way, and I gave up flying for a while. But when I got back into it, I decided we like this, and my other half pet really likes these planes. And when I was a kid, my little balsa wood, little petrol engine model was one of these. And I had some aeroplane spotter magazines when I was a child, and that had illustrations of these when they were new, and a little flight test, and I used to dream about them.
So if somebody was looking for one of these, what sort of price range would you be?
I don't know what the price range is.
Well, what sort of money do they go for?
I don't want to talk about the price of them.
You were saved by the noise. Russell, what has been the highlight of owning this plane?
Well, the highlight, I suppose, is the opposite when you get down. When it has these problems, when I first bought it, it was legally flying, but it had an awful lot of problems. And the highlight, I suppose, is when you cure the problems.
So how long did it take you to do the restoration then, or get it back up together?
Well, about 2.5 years. But it didn't need a complete restoration because it was flying anyway. It looked pretty much like this. On previous planes I did, there have been complete restorations, right from the entire plane in bits. So this one definitely was nothing like that. It was flying, just needed work, and work takes a long time on planes for some reason. It just, to get parts might be 2 or 3 weeks, or it might be a lot longer than that. It's a time-consuming business, really. So we cruise at 85 knots, so that's 100 miles an hour. But the nice thing is you can go quite slowly in them. I mean, you certainly do 50 knots without any problem, and that's quite nice, really. I mean, the stall's about 28 knots, so when I'm landing, the speed, that's another problem. The speed for landing has to be absolutely smack on. There is no sort of flexibility. With a Cessna, you could be 10, 15 miles an hour out on your landing speed, and you still get away with a reasonable landing. On here, without power, you've got to get the wheels about 6 inches off the ground at speed between probably 35 to 37 knots. So you've got to be absolutely smack on, otherwise you will not get it. You won't be right. So with a bit of power, it's about 28 knots. But again, if you're slightly above that, it would bounce. So you have to be very, very accurate. But you can certainly fly safely at 45 knots and lighter if that's what they want to do. So you can fly slowly, safe.
Are there many around now?
Well, there are. They're still in there, sort of probably well over 100 still flying. So there are quite a lot. There's 1 or 2 in the States. There's quite a few in New Zealand and Australia as well as over here. Most of them are over here, but Australia had quite a few of them. So, and this particular model, there aren't that many. There weren't that many made of them. But yeah, there's still quite a few going. Yeah.